Welcome to episode
100!
Yay! Woo! Our favorite things.
Join us as we discuss our favorite things from the podcast to witchiness to our everyday life.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
races,
and backgrounds.
With a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true, our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode 100! Our favorite things. Yay! So first, we're going to kind of, I think, self-congratulate a lot because 100 episodes is amazing.
Congratulations, self.
So, congratulations, Witchy Wit! Yay! So anyway, for our 100th episode, we thought we'd talk about some of our favorite things, just in general, just shooting the breeze.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do that.
But before we do that, how about we take part in our episode for the 100th time? Check in.
Oh, sure. So I will start. I got this a blog post, a newsletter I get, and there was a blog post in there about pretty privilege, and I'm going to be honest. That's all we do here is we try to be honest, and I used to say, and I probably would have said up until about a couple of hours ago, I'd like your problems, right? Pretty privilege and. Yeah, and for those of us who are not pretty, it's not, it's hard to relate and identify. And the blog post was about the seamy underbelly kind of a pretty privilege. Everyone knows about the idea that in class you get called on more, you get more accommodations by teachers. I'm trying to remember. There's a number of things that happen if you're pretty. And what the blog post points out is, the downsides of that are that you never know if people really like you for you, or if they even can get to know you because they're so kind of enamored of your beauty, a lot of objectification, a lot of assumptions that are made about you because of your looks, and then whether or not people can overcome that. And so it gave me a lot of insight, which if you had asked me about, I probably would have said, okay, yes, I understand that. But reading it the way it was presented was good for me. It allowed me, it helped me in my personal growth and my ability to step out of myself for a second. And so I appreciated that, and I think that this is something that, just like with a lot of assumptions that we make in our society, that it bears discussion and analysis. I mean, we are not going to be discussing it or analyzing it today, but it does bear some discussion, I think. A lot of discussion.
Yes. I'm holding my comments until our episode on Wicked, where I feel like this applies.
Okay, excellent. Okay, yay. Good, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I twinkle. I'm twinkling what you said. Agreed.
Yeah. What about you? What's going on in your life?
So I think this is appropriate to check in right now as we near the end of the year, at the end of the cycle, and being so close to the end of the year. I've been thinking a lot about endings, and I am the type of person that, well, I love ritual.
No, really.
I guess as it was coming in my head, I realized how silly it is to kind of say that, how obvious. But I love ritual, and I love the cyclical nature of life, and it brings me a lot of satisfaction to circle back and come back to a place. And that being said, sometimes endings can be hard for me, and I find myself grieving endings in a way that I feel like other people kind of skip over and move on more quickly. And I just have big feelings, and big feelings come up with endings. So even if the ending is right and good and is in integrity with with me and is what I want, it can still be sad. It can still be hard. So I'm just thinking about that as the completion of the year, and as the completion of seasons, and as a completion of phases of my life, just thinking about how they're one and the same.
Thank you. But you're okay. There's no particular ending that you need to discuss. Well, particularly not we can discuss this later. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I decided to step away from teaching at the club that I teach dance at.
Right.
And that club has been really important to me. That the people of that club were there for me during some really hard times, during my divorce and during some really hard financial times, and I leaned on them in ways that I was not expecting. And so even though it's right for me right now to step away and to focus on my own personal dance instead of teaching, it still just makes me sad.
I can imagine. They can be like a family, right? And it's kind of almost like stepping away from a family.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said that really resonated for me is that it's cyclical, right? So.
Yeah, they're like wanting to throw me a going away party, and I'm not really into that idea because I may come back. Don't throw me a going away party.
That means I can't. Yeah,
right?
That means I have to stay away.
There's something about it that feels final to me. Where I was like, no, I'm just stepping away right now for the season. I may or not come back, but by throwing the party, it feels more final. And and then I was like getting uncomfortable. I don't want the party. No party. I just want to walk away. No, what?
Just walk away. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I get that. Well, and because you're stepping away from something, you're stepping towards something else, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm stepping towards my individual practice.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Good. Excellent. And sad. Poignant. It's poignant. It's bittersweet.
It is bittersweet.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. For me, it's not bittersweet. It's just sweet that we hit 100 episodes.
Nice segue.
Thanks.
Yes, indeed.
So
yes, 100. So I shared something with you before we started recording, and I think it kind of ties into that 100.
Yeah.
So a part of the plan for today is to talk a little bit about some favorite moments from our podcast over the past 100 episodes. And I was listening to I was going to get the clips so we could listen to them after we've talked about them or during whatever. And Buzzsprout for the end of the year sent us our stats for 2024, and they said that we are in the top 50% of all podcasts.
I mean, duh. Of course, we're in the top.
But I mean,
here we go.
But we're niche. We're We're niche. We have not a super small following, but we don't. I mean, we are not. What's her name? Doyle. What's her name?
Oh, Glennon
Doyle.
Yes,
yeah, we're not Glennon Doyle or Brene Brown, right?
True.
So perhaps you noticed, but still, I mean, and of course that means out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, we are in the top 50, which on a certain scale might not be super important, but it is to me. It's huge.
I think it's awesome.
It's huge.
I think it's awesome.
And I think some of it is our regularity that we, even though there were a couple of episodes where it was like, oh, whoops, we were supposed to do that last month, weren't we? That we've been pretty consistent.
We are very consistent.
Yeah. So yay.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, and I remember I'd been getting a lot of podcasts, newsletters. I still do. I read them less frequently because they kind of repeat stuff. But one of the things they talk about is the fact that most podcasts fail because of inconsistency, and that they just don't hit that stride. So I think we've hit our stride. We're striding. We are striding right over the top to 100.
Yeah. Yay. I also thought it was cool. It said that we were in 33 countries. That's really cool.
It's very cool.
Frankfurt in Germany. If you are listening...
Which we assume you are, because you're downloading our stuff.
Every year I feel like I say this. I'm just going to say it again. Please reach out to us. We want to know who you are.
But no pressure.
I just think there's a coven of witches in Frankfurt, and I want to know them.
Yeah, I get that.
And most of the people I hung out with on the Camino were German, so I feel like we've got a connection.
Yes, exactly. Which will, again, come up in...
Of course we're going to talk about the Camino. Come on!
Well, we're talking about our favorite things, right? So there we go.
Yeah.
So, Where would you like to start?
So maybe let's start with the excerpts from our episodes.
Okay. So, shall I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the episode that we're going to listen to first is from the clip that we're going to listen to. Sorry, is from the episode 34, Music and the Body, and I thought it was particularly significant because in it we do say new things, but but it ties into a lot of our tropes, some things that come up for us: energy, body, ritual, music, so you're like swinging.
As you say it, I'm like, yeah.
All of our favorites. Mm-hmm. And so I found that really special. And so the clip that we're going to listen to, I think it's so... it's late in the episode, so we're not actually... we're kind of talking about music in the body, but kind of peripherally at that point. But to me, it's kind of such a beautiful symbol of our relationship. And so I thought I'd include that clip.
Oh, okay.
So I am going to...
That's not where I thought it was going to go. I like it.
Yeah. So I'm going... Yeah, I know. So I'm going to do that. So...
As a body person, I get my sense of knowing in my body. Like, I feel things in my body. Like, whenever if I'm ritual planning and I'm wondering and I'm like, okay, like, tell me what I'm supposed to be doing here. Like, I'm lost. I don't know how we're supposed to get from this thing to this thing. Like, how am I supposed to lead these women from here to here? Is it this? Okay, I don't feel anything. Mm-hmm. I'm like, is it this?
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not feeling anything. Is it this? And then I feel this thing inside of me. I'm like, okay, so it's supposed to be that. Mm-hmm. Like, I literally feel it in different parts of my body.
Wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm.
And I know other people experience their senses of knowing in other ways, but that's the way that it is for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Neat. Mm-hmm. I guess I do that too. I feel yes as kind of a lightness and like an opening up, and then I feel no as like a heaviness in my gut.
Oh, wow.
But I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So I just kind of do muscle testing because sometimes I'm like, which is that? Which is that? Which is that? And then maybe it's kind of both of them. So
yeah.
So I have other ways of assuring that the message I got was the one that I'm supposed to get.
Maybe that's not maybe that's just indigestion. Yeah. From the chili dog I had for lunch.
Exactly. One must be careful. So yeah. But I really want to spend more time doing that, and it sounds like you're very attuned to the responses that your body.
Yes, because I use it, and sometimes whenever I'm like out, if let's say I'm out at my favorite club and I'm dancing, I might bring up to myself something that I'm working with, like, how am I supposed to handle the situation? So maybe everyone else on the dance floor is like getting wasted, or like trying to hook up, and I'm like, this complex issue that stems from my childhood trauma, I'm going to bring it up right now, and how am I supposed to work through that? And then I'll dance it out, and then because I'm moving my body, and because the music is playing, and so like I'm in this heightened spiritual experience, that opens my way for my sense of knowing for me for the sacred to communicate with me. So I'm doing like deep spiritual work on
wow,
the
that's amazing.
Yeah, and everyone around me, they may not even know, like the 100 whatever people on the dance floor, but they're helping me because their energy, they're dancing. They might not even know I'm there because they're trying to hook up with somebody, but like I'm there and I get to be a part of that energy with them.
So like your spirituality is grounded in a lot of physicality.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm feeling a little vulnerable.
Well, yeah,
because I just said all that.
Yeah, and that's to me so wondrous because you have this innate knowing. You have this innate knowing, and you trust that innate knowing, and that's you're my hero.
Aww.
When I grow up, I hope to be able to trust myself like you do. So I love that clip because first of all, it's kind of it shows a little bit of our, our relationship with each other.
I think so.
But it's one of the things that we talk about, like two different people, two different witches, two different backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. And so that encapsulates that for me.
There's so much about that clip that I love because there's so much about us that I love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love us. I love you. One of the things I love is the sharing of the way that my knowing comes through me, because there's all those different ways of knowing, and one of them is I literally feel it in my body, and then you sharing about how you also feel it, but totally different way, and I was blown away. I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
it's the same thing, but it's totally different.
We rock.
We do.
We rock. Yeah.
Although I laughed whenever you're like, but I don't listen to it.
No, it's like, whatever.
I don't trust it.
Like, I've got to verify. So yeah. So tell us about your clip.
So my clip comes from episode 42, Witchy Ethics and Politics Part 2. Mm-hmm. And this has consistently been my favorite episode since the moment it's was brought forth from both of our lips.
Yeah. Well, it's been, I mean, it was such a favorite because we started it and then we realized there's absolutely no way we're going to get through all of this in one episode, so we did it in two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I would do more.
And that's because we brought up so much that we had to do. So
in this clip, we had just talked about a situation with our circle with a certain chant, and some people felt comfortable singing it, some people felt uncomfortable singing it, so some people abstained, and the concept of like, where is that line for each individual person with what is acceptable to them and not acceptable to them, and then you like swoop in and say something and blow my mind, which happens regularly, I think, but this is one of my favorites.
Spoiler alert. Okay, well, let's listen to that.
There, I would just go there.
Right.
And right. I was not doing a good job of like ethics checking. Did you have any experiences with that?
I don't remember, I don't think I was there. I remember hearing about it later, but I was not there. So, I tend to kind of do the same as you, just kind of throw myself in there. And I can understand having bloodlust about certain things, so it wouldn't, I don't know if it would necessarily have offended me or, to the point where I felt like I couldn't sing it. I guess some of it's the context, but sometimes the rivers of blood must flow. I mean, isn't that a line from a Sekhmet chant?
I don't know, but
yeah.
Okay.
So it might have been Sekhmet.
Oh.
That might have been Sekhmet.
Oh, man.
Because Sekhmet's all about justice, but her justice is, like everybody gets mowed down, so.
So the Leilani from back then was uncomfortable with singing the song. Once I thought about it, I ended up choosing not to sing. I stood there. That was probably 15 years ago. The Leilani now is uncomfortable with that, but would sing it.
Oh, really? Tell me why.
I think because sometimes I have to burn it all down, and that means that.
Oh, I get it. You're not necessarily comfortable with the fact that has to happen, but
yes,
you're
and I'm not sure I would ever be comfortable. I'm not sure that one is supposed to be comfortable with that sort of I would call it healing.
It's kind of like healing, like when you're lifting weights, you like have to rip the muscle to shred for it to grow stronger.
Right. And I believe that death is the ultimate version of healing. Like I believe that I will eventually be healed, and that death is healing. But like that sort of cultural healing, or whatever healing, but I don't know that I would ever be comfortable and be like, yeah, this is totally fine. This is good. Yeah. Like I think that I hope that I would always be uncomfortable with anything of that sort of magnitude.
Yeah.
But that's a very different stance than I had 10 or 15 years ago. Whenever I was like, no violence,
Yeah.
I just love our relationship so much.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about it is that while we chose topics that we loved, the actual clips that we talk about have very little to do with the topic.
Yeah.
And more to have to do with us. Because, well, here we are.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'd like to share one of the things I love about that clip. One of the things I love about that clip is that you blow my mind. You blow my mind.
Okay.
Well, okay, because I'm like rolling in about like I'm uncomfortable with the concept of violence. And at one point in time I was like, no. And then now I'm like uncomfortable, but like, yes. And then you're like, yeah, sometimes rivers of blood have to flow. And the same you, and I really believe that it is, it is like this whole united you, the same you that said like, yeah, Sekhmet, like mow people down, rivers of blood, is also the same you that talks about being 5D.
Ah, gotcha. Yes, thank you. Thank you for seeing all of me, all of the facets of me. Yay! Yay. Excellent. Good. So those are some of our favorite excerpts.
Yes.
And there's so many more. It was hard kind of choosing.
I could have. Yeah.
There were like, I listened to 4 or 5 episodes and said, okay, you've got to just choose one. So
I was like, that clip right there. I knew it right away. And then I had to figure out which Witchy ethics and politics episode it was.
All, 2 hours of it? Which it
was
doesn't
fine.
Hurt you to listen to again.
I was happy to listen to it again.
So for our 200th episode, I get to pull out one of the other ones. So excellent. Good. So where would you like to go? What other favorites would you like to talk about?
How about just separated from the podcast, but just more now as a reflection, like what is a favorite witchy practice that we have in our own personal practice?
Okay. Well, it's so funny because I think I would have said this before, but in listening to all the episodes that I listened to kind of figure out what my clip was, I would say the answer to that is pretty much just anything that gets me into like that energy of just trancing, so singing, drumming, other type of ritual practices that we do, but kind of getting me into 5D, getting me into altered consciousness, right? Getting to that place where I can do some real deep spiritual, mental, emotional work, and like rock out at the same time. Yeah.
I love that you answered that because I love getting to be near you when you are like that.
Yay!
There will be times in ritual where I will purposefully look at you because seeing you tranced out of your mind.
Like, dude. Meanwhile, you're also trying to say, we're coming, this is the last
right.
verse.
Like looking, sometimes I'll just like stare, bored, like holes to you with my eyes. Yes. Look at me, we're ready to move on. And you're just like, da, 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 da.
Yeah. So there, like we said, like with the pretty privilege, there is a seamy underbelly.
Yes.
But yeah, no, thank you. It's and it's not just in ritual. Like anytime we were, one of the episodes I listened to, in a number of the episodes I listened to, we talked about how music affects us in different ways that we respond to energy. And so anything that gets me into that kind of energy is great. What about with you?
So as I was reflecting on this, I chose that my favorite witchy practice is the practice of living witchiness. Okay. And I wrote it down saying, living a life with witchiness woven into it for so long. So the fact that I've had witchiness woven into my life for so long has really done these things to me where it's the air that I'm in. And so I don't realize it. Like a fish doesn't realize that it's in water.
Right.
And then I have these moments where I'm kind of shaken by the outside world. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this is not the water everyone else is in.
Whoa.
But it is my water. So some of those ways that it manifests, I just wrote down a few that I'd like to just share. Intergenerational friendships.
Yay.
Like
I'm down for that one.
I love that I get to work with and be close to people who are older and younger than me. In ways that I might not do in like my normal life, my family, or my job. Another one is, in my experience, death is woven into the witchy culture that I am a part of in a way that I think is like really beautiful and honest and like separated from our culture, which I think really like separates us from death.
Hides.
Yes. So like I think about dying all the time, and like that clip from the Barbie movie, where she's like, "Do you ever think about dying?" Like that really upset a lot of people in my life that I know, and they were like, "That's really weird," and that's like, and in my mind, I'm like, "No, I think about dying all the time."
Yeah.
And not in like a suicidal way or like an unhealthy way, but just in a way of like, sometimes I'll look at a tree and I'll be like, someday I'm going to be dead and I'm going to be a part of a tree. That's so fucking cool. It is. Yeah.
It is. That's so sweet.
And then another one is like the agreements, the way that they're woven into my life. And then intersectional feminism, things about just concepts that I have that are just so woven deeply into me that I forget that it's not like that for everyone.
Right.
Like one time I was walking with some friends and we were standing on a corner getting ready to cross the street, and I like kicked my foot up to kick the button to cross the street, to press the button because I didn't want to touch it with my hand. And a friend that I was with made a comment about like, you better be careful doing that on the street corner. People are going to get some ideas about you. And I just snapped back with like, my body is my own and I can move it however I want, wherever I want, and yeah.
That's maybe a little trickle of blood. I don't know.
But it was in that moment, where it was like, like things moved on and it wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal to me where I was like, oh, wow. Isn't that interesting that like I responded so quickly that way? Why? And then I realized it's because of this community that I've been a part of, and I've been enriched by them.
Wow.
So,
I mean, we could talk about that episode talk about that episode for an episode. I mean, because there's so much going on in that. But yeah, thank you. Those are wonderful. Thank you for sharing those. What's poignant for me about that, poignant, maybe that's not the word, but is hearing you say that after having heard you said that you weren't sure if you were witchy. I don't know if you remember saying that in a couple of episodes, that, that you were not the quote unquote kind of marker for witchiness. Like, you know what I mean? Like
I do feel that. Yeah.
And so, and it's so wonderful to hear you say that, oh, you're washing it, right? Yay. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah. So let's go on to some more faves.
More faves.
How about pop culture?
Okay.
Like writers, actors, books, films, TV shows, movies, whatever.
I love hearing you talk about this stuff.
Okay. Yay. Okay. Good.
Just like when you talk about people that you've read and shows that you're watching, and I love listening to you talk about stuff like that.
Well, good. That's good to hear, because I'm fixing to share something.
Here we go. I'm like leaning back, pulling up my sleeves, getting my drink. Let's
okay.
Let's go.
So
here we go.
I just put a few. I didn't put all of them because
that's like 2 lines full. I'm just listed
because I didn't want to monopolize the conversation, and some of these actually can go on another. And I may have some of these I've actually talked about on other episodes, and probably some could go into others. But I had a number of favorite authors, and these are there are very. And when I say this, I want to make sure we have a international book fair every April here where authors come to town, and and a friend of mine is in charge of the volunteers, and she gets people, she recruits people, and one of the things she says she uses as an incentive is you'll get to maybe talk with one of your favorite authors or something like that. And generally I say no, because most authors are people. And most people, it's not I dislike them. I just don't necessarily like them, right? So I don't need to talk to them. They talk to me through their books. I talk back to them when I read their books, and I don't need to really meet them. And quite frankly, some of them are shits, right?
Yes, yeah.
So there you go. But the authors that I'm going to name now, I would meet them in a heartbeat. I would stalk them. I would follow them around if I could. They're Neil Gaiman, who there's a few books of his that I haven't read, but pretty much all of them I've read at least once. And I have favorites, but I'm not going to bother. James Michener. Now, a lot of people don't know his name that much anymore, but he wrote Tales from the South Pacific, that the musical South Pacific is based on.
Oh.
He wrote Hawaii. He wrote Alaska. So he writes these epics. Like Alaska starts with this kind of 4-celled thing. It goes through the woolly mammoths. It goes through all of that, and then it ends when Alaska becomes a state in the 50s. Yeah, that's Michener. And so the same thing with Hawaii.
Yeesh.
He has one called Caravan. So he does huge epics that are ultra researched and totally grounded in history. and he also writes these brilliant characters. So it's not just the history, but it's these people in these various places doing things that people do, basically fucking up, right? I mean, yeah, pretty much. But so that's Missioner, and then Ursula K. Le Guin, who writes a lot of science fiction. Another person who writes these vivid characters. I love her. And then N.K. Jemisin, who is a black writer who is really who's won Hugo Awards, won the number of science fiction awards. Incredible. So those are my favorite authors. Now I'm just going to briefly just say, and some of them I've talked about, but my favorite television shows out of all of the television shows that I could say, and I love a lot, are Star Trek, because
you've mentioned that.
I've mentioned that one because when I was a kid, that was the one that I could see, like books, you create the picture in your head, but this is one where someone creates the picture and you could just like relax in it. You don't have to work so hard. And so, and for a number of different reasons, that was just so inspirational and aspirational for me. And then MASH, because it's kind of the flip side of Star Trek, in that Star Trek is like reaching for the stars and humans can be better, and MASH kind of shows us the way we are in a very funny and humorous way. And so I loved the television show. I like the movies too. The movies are much darker than the television show. And then finally,
this is it.
My favorite, it's hard to choose, but my favorite actor, at least right now, is Alan Rickman.
That's her screensaver.
Yes, he is. In fact, I have a naked picture of him.
You do.
That when I was in the Vatican Library, because they flipped through the pictures, I knew it was. I was up at the front, and my station was between like a nun or a monk on one side, and then just this wonderful woman on another side, and I knew that was coming up, and I'm like trying to walk back really, really fast to hit the computer before my screensaver comes up, because I love Alan Rickman, and I've always liked him, but I never really delved into him, quite frankly, until Harry Potter. And I saw him because that was such a different character for him, because he was known for playing a lot of villains with depth, and so that made me go back and watch everything I found an old Masterpiece Theater thing where he plays this painter, from the 1800s, so I found pretty much everything that I could find, and on him, because I love it. And he's such depth and hysterically funny. Even like the famous one, two famous ones, Die Hard, and the Robin Hood, where he's playing shits. I mean, he's a horrible person. You just laugh, and he plays the best villains.
I would rather play a villain than a
hero.
They're always more. To me, it's always more fun. I would always play the villain in our church camp play, but anyways, they have capes, but whatever. Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. So that's mine. I try to keep it condensed.
I love watching you talk about it, though. I'm like leaning forward right now because I just get titillated by like the way you get so into it. It's so fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
They're exciting people, and so I'm glad to share. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. What about you?
So to help demonstrate two different perspectives, I wrote down Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
It is, and it's just because I rarely fall in love with a show or a movie. When I do, I just love falling in love. It is so fun to love something and to be so enmeshed in it. And it's just not the way I'm wired to enjoy something like that. So when I do, it's so fun. And
precious, I would imagine.
It is such a precious feeling. And to know I'm falling in love. Oh, I'm in love. And then to get to enjoy being in love. And Ted Lasso, I just fell in love.
You did. I do remember when that was a check-in for you early on in our season.
Yes.
And
I still love it. And they're coming out with the third season. And I don't even know what it's going to be about. I have some hopes. But I'm just going to love it. I just love that show so much.
Good. Well, and you shared that with me, and I fell in love with it too. So I mean, it was when you first described it, I was thinking, okay, let's but I trust you so much that let's do this. I think I bought Apple TV or something to get it. But thank you.
I believe.
You for sharing. Yeah.
I carved a pumpkin with the Believe sign in it. That's how much I loved that last
A mutual friend of ours has that as one of, I think it's a sign in her office.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
I love that so much.
Yes, I love it. Yes. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Okay, we've been putting it off. Let's just get to it.
Let's go to, because, well, here's the thing. We don't even try to not, right?
Right, no.
We the Camino just suffused our lives for so many months.
Yeah.
And it still is for me. So we do have a favorite moment from the Camino.
Yes.
Okay.
So my favorite moment from the Camino is, it came about because I recently read a book called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman.
Oh.
So I recently read it, and I thought it was phenomenal because it's a really great book, not about like organize your day this way because and do a bullet journal and then like not like that. Like it's just like, so we're back to what we talked about before. So we're all gonna die, and that's the number of weeks that we have in our life. So just realize that the way you organize your time, because our time is finite. Yeah, and like not in like a dark way, although some people are uncomfortable with the concept of death. But to me, I was like, hell yeah, we're all going to die. This is great. Like, so one of the concepts he talked about it in the book is, how would you say that? Elginzeit?
Elginzeit. Yes.
Elginzeit. Oh, look, thank you. And he talked about, this was during the chapter where he was talking about concepts of time and how our concepts of time have changed as human nature has changed, like as our culture has changed. And the concept of Elginzeit, it's a German word meaning proper time. But the concept of Elginzeit is that things take as long as they take. And that before, and he talked about like the standardization of time, and when we had, like when railroads became a thing, like because when we had to like map time across like large areas where it was more than just like walking from village to village.
Right.
Like when you can travel that far, and then he even talked about how like trains would run into each other because we didn't have a concept of time that was united. So prior to that, things took the amount of time that it took. You didn't work at 8 to 5. You worked out in the field as long as it took to get the job done. And as he was as he was sharing and writing about this, I was really struck by something I hadn't been able to really put into words about what I found so profound about the Camino, which was I walked as long as it took to get from A to B. And I ate when I was hungry. I peed when I could and no one was around. And I snacked when I needed to. And I listened to podcasts as long as I wanted. And I listened to silence and nature around me as long as I wanted. And then I messaged friends for, like I just was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was nothing else except I walked. We got to where we were going. I ate. I went to bed, and then I did the exact same thing,
Yeah.
17 days in a row. So
Woo-hoo!
It was just a really different way of living than not only that I live, but that like our culture constructs around what time means.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That sounds like a great book. I might have to get that for myself. Yeah, I love that idea that, that you walked, like it wasn't, okay, I'm going to get there at 3 and then I'm going to do this. And then it was like, I'm going to get there when I get there. And you got, wow.
And you got there when you got there.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes we didn't know when that was. Sometimes it was before me. Sometimes it was after me.
Very rarely was it. I think it was the day that I took off was the only day that I got there before you. But thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's true. I love that. And that's kind of cosmic, actually. When you...
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Thank you. It reminds me, there was a woman who used to belong to our circle that she would say these things, like when we were talking about, getting ready to organize stuff, and she'd say, just remember 2 things. There is no time, and then there's more than enough time. I mean, when you think about it, because time is just, it's just this thing that we've kind of all created so our cells will stay together. I mean, that's all it is. So, wow. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I would love to hear what you picked.
So my favorite moment is actually a number of favorite moments, but pretty much every morning, with a couple of days there, it was that would be, and those were the exception. Every morning I'd be walking around next to a river, and just being present at that moment, just walking, and just, like, kind of like you were saying, being, literally smelling the green, hearing the trees grow, seeing the birds, that kind of stuff. It was like all of my senses were kind of entrained. And I found, as looking back at this, I found that happened mainly in the morning, because by the afternoon, while you were kind of living in Elginzeit, I was like, shit, it's like the day is half over and I'm only 1/4 of the way, or shit, it's 4:00 and I'm looking at the map and I'm only 2/3 of the way. So the afternoon tended to be kind of fraught for me with just, knowing that I'm not going to do the thing the way everybody else does the thing. And kind of, and I didn't do it constantly, but it wasn't like this sheer hours upon hours the way it was in the morning, and I knew in the morning that was coming up, but I didn't care at that point, because it was so, it's one of my goals in life is to kind of be present every single moment, be like totally present every single moment. And I have glimmers and glances of it. I had more of it consistently day after day after day on the Camino, because I didn't have to worry about washing dishes, or, did I, change the sheets, or, you know what I mean? Get the bullet journal and all that kind of stuff. So I think that for me was kind of like, this kind of building upon the moment, building upon the next moment, that kind of thing.
Can I just say that I really loved the way you did the Camino?
Thank you.
It was such a powerful thing for me to witness you do it your way, and to just be fiercely loyal to this. I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it, and that's the way it's going to be done.
This is a Kimberlyn Camino. It was the Kimberlyn Camino. So no one else has to do it that way. No, I'm not, and I'm not advocating it for anyone else, but it's what worked for me.
It was so
and it meant I had a Camino.
Yeah.
I mean, if I tried to do it, I could probably have done it that way, but I'd be getting in like 2 or 3 in the morning, right? So it was just not in the cards for me. So, but I had a Camino. Damn it.
You did.
Boy, howdy. So there we go. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for sharing that 4,000. Oh, there.
Yeah. 4,000 Weeks.
The title right there.
Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, so as we are... we had plenty of time. So as we're bringing this kind of to a close, I'd love to hear just a kind of a fave from you. A joy.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I think the joy that I'm going to share is the joy of living in paradox. The joy of wanting to be, I'm vegetarian, but I eat mostly vegan, and like I work out all the time, and I'm super focused on my health, but I also love a really good cupcake. You know, like the joy of knowing that like life can be paradoxical, and that as a witch, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about witchy practices. As a witch, I can stand in both, and there's a fullness to that, not a divide.
I love that too. Yeah, thank you.
What about you?
I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but for me, it's and this is where this is perfect for me to discuss this as we're recording our 100th episode, because one of the things that I've always wanted is to just really be present. I just mentioned that a few minutes ago, but one of the things that I have all of the things that I have learned from doing the podcast with you are little bits of the puzzle that help me to kind of construct a scenario where I'm safe, I'm comfortable, and I'm able to be present. And I can't do this constantly right now. and like I said, my goal is to live in that. But because of recording with you, I have all of these tools, and I have all of these wonderful inspirational things that people say about, like, knowing in your body and things like that, that help me to be able to grasp those, recognize when those moments occur and grasp them, and then maybe, kind of set myself up so I can have more of those moments. Mm-hmm. So just being present. Those are joys that I appreciate, and I know I'm going to have more and more of because of what we do.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
I agree. I love getting to be with you. One of our mutual friends sometimes will text me pictures of you, mm-hmm. like when she's with you.
Oh, right.
And recently she texted a picture of you, like presenting and like in front of all these people. And I saw the picture and I was just like, hell yes, queen. like I just love getting to know you and like seeing you just be freaking awesome.
100 episodes of us just having conversations that we used to have going to our priestessing apprenticeship. Yeah. So yay.
And so to close, we found a poem that I think is really beautiful. It's by Mark Nepo, and it's from Inside the Miracle, which was published in 2015.
Mm-hmm. And Mark, may I say a little bit? Yeah, Mark Nepo, we don't know a whole lot about him, but he's a spiritual teacher, obviously a poet, and he has a lot of poems online. So if you like this one, you can find more of his work.
This one is called Adrift.
Everything is beautiful, and I am so sad. This is how the heart makes a duet out of wonder and grief.
The light spraying through the lace of the fern is as delicate as the fibers of memory forming their web and the knot in my throat.
The breeze makes the birds move from branch to branch as this ache makes me look for those I've lost in the next room, in the next song, in the laugh of the next stranger.
In the very center, under it all, what we have that no one can take away, and all that we've lost face each other.
It is there that I'm adrift, feeling punctured by a holiness that exists inside everything.
I am so sad, and everything is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing the beauty of our journey to 100 episodes. We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!